Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Education Environment Radio here on KMET. And I hope you were here for the last half hour with Tom Hegna. And one thing I didn't bring up with him, and I want to show you a picture if we can. This I was laughing so hard when I saw this on Tom's website. It's actually success stories in how a cow sold $7 million policy. Build your success. These are cash cows. So you get a box of cash cows. Now, I'm not sure what's in those cows or whether it's just a gag thing, but I think it's hilarious and I love it. And thanks to Tom for being such an important guest on the show. Really do appreciate that. We're going to finish Jacques Vallée, and then we'll probably take a side trip out of birthdays and get to NASA Nelly because the International Space Station only comes around so often, so we got to make use of that. We were talking about Jacques Vallée, an important figure in the study of UFOs. In 1955, he sighted a UFO over his home in France. Working 6 years later on the staff of the French Space Committee, he said he witnessed the destruction of the tracking tapes of an unknown object orbiting the Earth. So something's up there. He continued to spark his curiosity in this subject. He moved to the U.S. in 1962 and began working as a research astronomer at the University of Texas, systems analyst at Northwestern University, briefly employed by the Royal Dutch Shell in Paris, RCA Service Company in New Jersey, manager of information systems in the Stanford University Computer Center. I think he's still centered, speaking of centered, in that area, San Francisco and greater area. And he was a consultant to Stanford Institute for Plasma Research, just to name a few. He also has authored several books, and it has been said that Vallée's first two UFO books were among the most the most sophisticated, to show you how sophisticated I are, defenses of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, excuse me, and promoting the interdimensional hypothesis. In the late 60s, Vallée began exploring the commonalities between UFOs and cults, religious movements, and I did mention that book, American Cosmic, and I've got these on my on Kindle, so it's not I can't just pick it up and show you. Demons, angels, ghosts, psychic phenomena. He suggested a multi-dimensional visitation hypothesis where the alleged extraterrestrials could be potentially from anywhere. The entities could be multi-dimensional, beyond space, time, and thus could coexist with humans yet remain undetected. Not exactly the same as H.P. Lovecraft, not quite that scary. It was not accepted by prominent U.S. ufologists at the time, hence he was viewed as something of an outcast, and he referred to himself as a heretic among heretics. Vallée was one of the first people to speculate publicly about the possibility that the miracle of Our Lady of Fatima was actually a UFO. And that book, American Cosmic, and remind me to get the name of the author for you next week, where she parallels that particular thing with Roswell and what a religious experience and pilgrimage it is for both sets of people. I thought it was pretty fascinating. Jacques was chosen by Steven Spielberg as the model for the character of Claude Lacombe, the French scientist played by Francois Truffaut in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it's been highlighted in UFO conferences worldwide, as well as several television documentaries. And here's a short list of Jacques Vallée books. Passport to Magonia, yes, I've got that. It's on Kindle. From Folklore to Flying Saucers, published 1969. I think that might be his biggest seller, I'm not sure. Dimensions, Case Book of Alien Contact, published in 1988. The Invisible College, published 1975. And of course, he's got some, Messengers of Deception, UFO Contact and Cults, published in 79. And he's got some new ones now. There's one that just came out regarding some of the secrets of the Trinity test. And I won't get into it now because as usual, I'm running behind. And, if I were to be running backwards, I'd probably catch up with myself pretty well. But we are going to take a break now and listen for the retro rockets of NASA Nellie. So, NASA Nellie, are you in our atmosphere yet? There she is. There she comes. Okay, so let me get my fat face, skinny face out of the way of the microphone, and give me these pictures.
The Zimbabwe UFO incident. In 1994, 60 children at Aerial School in Ura, Zimbabwe, said that they had seen a craft with large-eyed aliens land near their school playground. The story was broadcasted across the world. There were also reports of strange lights and a craft in the sky in several parts of South Africa at that time. There had been numerous reports of a bright fireball passing through the night sky. Witnesses interpreted the fireball as a comet or a meteor. In the morning of September 16, 1994, several students were outside on mid-morning break when they and some adults saw something out of this world. They were hysterical when they returned and were apparently hushed by faculty. The school kids then told their parents. The next day, the school received numerous calls from parents wanting to know why their kids were so horrified. Some of the teachers started to panic. A local radio station sent a reporter to the school to interview the children, and they all disclosed their stories. Later, that reporter said, "I could handle war zones, but I could not handle this." Well, here's the claim. One or more silver objects appeared in the sky. They floated down to a field of brush and small trees just outside the school. Between 1 and 4 creatures with big eyes exited the craft and approached the children. At this point, many of the children ran, but some, mostly the older ones, stayed and watched the approach. While one of the creatures stood on top of the craft, the others telepathically communicated to the children an environmental message before returning to the craft and flying away. They were being warned to take care of the environment, and that if we didn't, there would be an environmental catastrophe for the Earth. They were harmless and kind to the children and merely wanted to impart a message to them. The Ruwa UFO incident quickly became one of the most famous UFO cases in Africa. The witnesses were not only interviewed by the press, but also by Dr. John Mack, as well as UFO expert Cynthia Hines. Mack, Pulitzer Prize winner, through the 1990s had investigated UFO sightings and had a particular interest in alien abduction experiences. According to him, 62 children at the school claimed a sighting, and the details were quite consistent. The children were absolute that they had not seen a plane. Skeptics have dismissed the incident as one of the mass hysteria or even a prank. They criticized the interviewing techniques of Mack and Hind. Hind interviewed the children in groups of 4 to 6. Mack interviewed the children 2 months after the sighting. Many of the witnesses produced paintings and drawings of what they saw, and they were remarkably similar. They and the faculty all told the exact same story. Several of the witnesses continue to maintain the story to this day as being true. So what is really strange is just recently the U.S. government has actually come out and admitted the existence of UFOs, and most people's reaction was to brush it aside. The media gave a wink and laughed as the Pentagon released amazing videos that were previously been top secret. It wasn't a secret anymore. The U.S. government has admitted that UFOs exist. They even changed the name of UFOs to UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. They don't know what they are and admitted that there is the possibility that they could actually be unworldly. How on earth is that not bigger news? It's a legitimate story that is backed up by actual government documentation. Just because it is a UFO or a UAP doesn't mean it's from another planet or even another alien being. It could be some top secret project from another country that we are not aware of, or it could be some clandestine operation from a private industry with the billions of dollars to be making these vehicles. Nevertheless, it is curious, and it makes you wonder about sightings like this one, by school children no less, with descriptions unwavering. Over 60 of them, all consistent in their stories and drawings, all truly terrified. Makes you wonder.
Yes, it does. And those were really neat little pictures that were drawn by the children when they were younger, right? And I showed you this picture of Dr. Mack. He's no real slouch, although he's kind of slouching in his chair there. He was unfortunately killed. I don't know whether it's hit or run, but he was hit by an automobile in London at one time. Like I said, no real slouch. He was the head of the psychiatric department at Harvard, I believe. So he was pretty up there in what he was, his thing, and he was accepted by Harvard and the rest of that. So, NASA Nellie, are you taking off yet? There she goes, and so be it. So I'm going to have a little cup of coffee before we come back to Earth. Who else's birthday? Well, this one's really important to me. John Coltrane was born yesterday, the 23rd, 1926, and earned his wings in 1967. Not a very long, I can hardly imagine what he would have contributed to music, and I'm going to call it classical music because, today's pop music becomes tomorrow's classical if it lasts that long. And John Coltrane was an amazing saxophonist and composer, a real ionic figure in 20th century jazz. He was born in Hamlet, North Carolina, in his parents' apartment. And do we have a picture?
Much later.
And this is a bit later. This was him in the Navy. He was in the Navy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's his Navy picture. And what else we got here? There he is sitting with a saxophone. He was known also for soprano, alto, and especially tenor saxophone in so many of the recordings. This is a good picture, not to mention all the black ink it used, but it's a nice picture. Actually, it is a nice picture. And I should put that in with some of the albums because that is a nice picture. Mm-hmm. And there he is. And so, when he was 18, his mother bought him his first saxophone. He played clarinet, alto horn, in a community band before beginning alto saxophone in high school. Coltrane had his first professional work in a cocktail lounge trio with piano and guitar in 1945, 1 year before I was born. During his time, he joined the Navy. And in the Navy, there was a group called Melody Masters, which was the swing band for the base he was on. And by the end of his service, he had assumed a leadership role in that band. His first recording was an informal session in Hawaii with Navy musicians, and he played the alto saxophone. After being discharged from the Navy as a seaman first class in 1946, Coltrane returned to Philadelphia, where he plunged into the new music scene. And it's said he became fanatical about practicing and developing his craft, practicing 25 hours a day. He considered Charlie Parker as his idol, who he worked with later on in a later stage. And over the years, he also worked with Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Lee Morgan, to name a few, and in big bands with Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington. So Coltrane recorded close to 80 albums and was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, won one. One of which was, which I guess that, oh no, he won 2, and one of them was a Lifetime Achievement Award. So let me just go into a few of the records. Now this one is, I got fairly new. Uh, no real pictures, so I won't open that. My favorite things. You know what? I'm not sure if I played this one yet, because I got this recently when I got my new amplifier. This is a 45 RPM, so it's on 2 records instead of 1. This one is absolutely brilliant, also another 45 RPM. No pictures, so I won't show you that, but I'll show you the cover. Absolutely. John Coltrane, Freddie Hubbard, McCoy Tyner, which may be one of my favorite piano players, Reggie Workman bass, Art Davis bass on some other Elvin Jones drums, and on and on. This one is, let's see, do we got pictures here? Sometimes they come with, no, depending on the brand. The Tone Poets all come with pictures from this session. Plays the Blues, also a 45 RPM, gorgeous, absolutely wonderful record. And, you know, I'm showing these not just, you know, to show them, but, you know, part of our program is for people to keep busy and to have hobbies and things, and this is mine I'm sharing. This one is, let me see about this one. This is a I don't know, it shows Miles Davis and Red Garland in there. This one is called, is this 45? No, just a double record, great sounding. This is him being featured as a sideman with other groups like Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Red Garland Quintet, and that kind of thing. I love Red Garland also, by the way. And what do I got there? Another one I have not played. Boy, am I weird or what? Does this have pictures? No, they're not tone poems. I got some tone poets in that pile, but I didn't bring them out, but that's okay. Another great one. This one is also 45 RPM, I believe. Org, so that would be 45 RPM. By Bernie Grunman, Crested Palace. These are really good. But that's another really great one.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So, you know, to me, he is amazing. And, you know, you could say he was amazing, but he still is because he's on so many records, recordings, and memories of people. So Christopher Reeve...
And inspiring new musicians.
Oh, yeah, and inspiring all new people. So Christopher Reeve was another fella that was born September the 25th, 1952. And we tragically lost him in 2004. His real name was Christopher D apostrophe capital O-L-I-E-R, Reeve, an American actor, director, and activist best known for playing the main character in the film Superman. And he was born in New York City, raised in Princeton, New Jersey, and was interested in acting at age 9. His mother was a journalist, and his father was a teacher, novelist, and poet. Growing up, he excelled academically, in sports, and on stage. And also was in the honor roll. Unlike myself, he was accepted into many universities and chose Cornell, joining their theater department, and appeared in numerous plays. So Christopher received a letter from Stark Hazeltine, a high-powered New York City agent who discovered Robert Redford and represented such actors as Richard Chamberlain, Mr. 50 Cent Tip at Clementine's in Beverly Hills. I don't know. My wife is laughing. I can't. Anyway, Michael Douglas, Susan Sarandon. Christopher said he reread the letter over and over as he couldn't believe it. He grew impatient with school and wanted to get started in his acting career, so returned to New York once a month to meet producers. He studied, did a lot of stage work, flew to Glasgow, then Paris, immersed himself into their culture also. After returning to the States from Europe, he auditioned for Juilliard, where he and Robin Williams were the only two selected for the advanced program. They both remained close friends, as well as with Katharine Hepburn. So his real break was auditioning for the role as Clark Kent in Superman. Let's look at some. I'm sure most of you don't need pictures, but we try to be visual as we can. There he is. Unfortunately, we don't show him growing older because he did not grow older. Probably a little younger and a little more serious looking here. Okay. And I have another picture. This is a nice picture. There he is after his accident, which we'll talk about here in just a minute or so. We talked about Supermensch already, and Laserdisc, of course. Superman, and who can forget this? Nobody that saw it. So there. So the morning after his meeting with director Richard Donner, he was sent a 300-page script. The film was a huge success, and several other successful sequels as well. In the late 1980s, Reeve became more active. He bought a sailboat, took horse riding lessons, and even though he was allergic to horses, taking antihistamines, he still trained 5 to 6 days a week for competition. And speaking of competition, we're going to take a short break right now, and I think it's going to be pretty short, but don't go away, okay? We're going to go to the village of the damned when we get back. Well, welcome back to the Educated Retirement here. And hopefully you were with us at the 3:30 to 4 segment where we really got some education about retirement. And, if you missed any part of it, I would definitely listen to Tom Hegna, because what a great presentation he had. But, we'll get back to our man here, Christopher Reeve, and we were talking about while filming Village of the Damned, he bought a 12-year-old thoroughbred horse. Just to show you once again, Village of the Damned. This one is, the redo, Carpenter, and I thought it was pretty good, really. And I think Carpenter is pretty good. I mean, I'm not as huge a fan about The Thing as so many people have become. I still like the original one, but he did a good job. No, it's okay. So he bought a 12-year-old thoroughbred horse, and on May 27th, 1995, competed in an event at the Commonwealth Park Equestrian Center in Culpeper, Virginia. And about to make a routine 3-foot jump, his horse began The fence jumped, then suddenly stopped, and Reeve fell forward over the horse, still holding onto the reins, and he landed, unfortunately, headfirst, shattering his first and second vertebrae, and was paralyzed from the neck down and unable to breathe without a ventilator, but had no brain damage. While in the hospital, he was told that he had 50-50 chance that he would survive a surgery to attach his skull to his spine. When the door flew open and in hurried a squat fellow with blue scrub hat and surgical gown and glasses, speaking in Russian accent, and announced that he was a proctologist and was going to perform a rectal exam on Reeves. And it was Robin Williams. And Reeves said later it was the first time since the accident that he laughed. So his old friend helped him know that somehow he was going to be okay. So Christopher died 9 years later, and 10 months after his death, Dana Reeve, his wife, announced that she had been diagnosed with lung cancer, and she died in 2006. The Christopher Reeve Foundation is dedicated to curing spinal cord injury by advancing research and improving quality of life for those individuals. And Reeve started in 27 films in his fairly short career. And the first one, of course, Superman, which we showed already, directed by Richard Donner, starring Margot Kidder, who was later found wandering around somebody's backyard, but I think that had to do with drugs more than mental health. Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and the film now is nominated for 4 Oscars and won the Special Achievement Award, Somewhere in Time, and by our Richard Matheson, who we've talked about so many times, and music by John Barry. But of course, if you like the music to this, Out of Africa is exactly the same music as far as I can tell, but they're both really, really beautiful. So this is, well, at first I thought it was a laser disc. It's a record. This is the music, and there it is. And Somewhere in Time was directed by Jeanette Schwartz. That's JeannotSzwark. Story by Richard Matheson. Starred Jane Seymour and Christopher Plummer. Nominated for 1 Academy Award. Village of the Damned, which we talked about. And I'm going to show the record now. Was there anything inside that... Oh, wait a minute. I put this in one of those weird things that actually opens up. Yeah, not too much. The front and the back. This is one of those weird covers. Anyway, there it is. And there it is in the back with the hype sticker. You know, people that collect records, they got to have a hype sticker as part of their collection. So there it is. I thought this music was very good. John Carpenter and Dave Davies. Now, I think you probably know Carpenter's music. It all kind of has that same tinge to it. But did a good...
Store day? That was record store?
That was a record store day, first drop for this year. Drop number 1, I believe, record store day of 2021. So I was happy to get... Yeah, it says record store day right here on the... This is the hype sticker right there. And, you know, for some reason it becomes worth more with the hype sticker. Doesn't sound any better, though. Doesn't sound any worse either. So anyway, that movie starred, like I said, directed by John Carpenter, starred Christy Allen, who was really a mean one in it, Karen Kahn, Death Trap, which I really enjoyed. Sidney Lumet did that, directed that in 1982, starring Michael Caine and Diane Cannon. And I remember we watched this many, many times.
It's a play.
And we also, where did we see the play?
I think South Coast Repertory Theater.
South Coast Repertory Theater, which we used to have. But anyway, it's a lot of things in my life that used to was, but you can say that when you get older. And we got some honorable mentions. One being Linda McCartney, was born September 23rd, 1941, and passed on in 1998. And she was, of course, the first wife of Paul McCartney. Not only a musician herself, but is known for her photography of celebrities and contemporary musicians. Tell us something about this book.
That's Sun Prince.
And what part did she play in this?
Those are all her.
Oh, these are all her
photographs.
sun
Yeah.
prints?
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to pick out randomly.
You paint an emulsion on paper, watercolor paper, and you can take them out in the sun and expose it with the sun, and then wash them, and you've got a print.
And this has a preface
Like a
by Paul McCartney, whoever he is, but
Yeah.
he wrote the preface to that. Also, Michael Douglas. Some of these people should be really the stars, not just the honorable mentions, but we only have so much time. And this guy's still around, of course. His father passed away not that long ago, and his father was at least 100 years old. And we did visit the grave site. I think I mentioned in Westwood. It's a great graveyard if you're into graveyards. But this one has Marilyn Monroe and Hugh Hefner right next to him, in the wall. And of course, the funniest one, Michael Douglas was there with his wife. The funniest one, of course.
Kirk Douglas.
Like I said, Kirk Douglas. Don't get excited, Mike. You're still around. Was what's his name? I can get no respect.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield, who's had a huge headstone that said "Not good for the neighborhood." Jack Lemmon. Anyway, Irv Griffin, Mel Torme. Michael Douglas came into this world in 1944. This makes him 2 years even older than me. Wow. Actor of over 60 films and is the son, of course, of the screen legend Kirk Douglas. Most notable of his films are Romancing the Stone, War of the Roses, China Syndrome, The Game, which I thought was really cool, and the television series Streets of San Francisco that ran from 1972 to 1977. So this was very memorable, big hit, of course, with Kathleen Turner and Danny DeVito and all that good. And it was Robert Zemeckis, who, man, what a career he's had. So here's one I didn't mention, but coulda, shoulda. Really a good film. Traffic, which won 4 Academy Awards for Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Editing, Best Supporting Actor, Benicio del Toro. And that was really a good one. And The Game, I thought, was really fascinating. From the director of Seven, it says, which, of course, we talked about him. It was his birthday, right? Just the other...
Mm-hmm.
The other day, David Fincher. And David does some really weird, off-the-wall kind of stuff, but puts them together so well, they really work. And this one really worked. As outlandish as this one it works. So if you haven't seen it, I would go ahead and see it. Will Smith. September 25th, 1968, just a kid. And Will Smith, star of at least 40 films. Independence Day, Men in Black, and a television series, which I never watched the series on TV, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 1990 to 1996. Here's Men in Black. Love this one and the sequels to it. This was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, which was the cinematographer before that for the Coen brothers. I don't know if he still works with them or not. Really a good... Oh, you've seen this film several times, right? And
Careful.
no, I want this. There you go. What do you think of them apples? Now, of course, it's got a little thing that it sits in, but this was very powerful. Oh, look at that. It lights up. See that?
Mm-hmm.
And destroys almost everything. And this is a very powerful tool to pick your nose with if you don't have any enemies What are you looking at me like that for? This is pretty cool, ain't it? Let me put it back in its. There you go. Noisy Cricket, number 209 of 5,000. So, you know, it wasn't original, but it was made. Icon made copies of props that were used in films. So we've got quite a few icons around, including uh, what you see behind me here. I think you can see behind me here. Uh, Arnold. And those lights do, those eyes do light up behind me here. That's also an icon piece. Anyway, we were going to get back to classical composers' birthdays because this is September is classical music month, and we honored the following composers: the avant-garde John Cage, Anton Dvorak, the train spotter, and Gustav Holst, the astrologer and astronomer. And today we bring you our last classical composer, and not the least, but you know, we only got 4 weeks. I guess we only had 4 Fridays. Sometimes we have 5 Fridays in a month. Dmitri Shostakovich, which he was born on the 25th of this month, 1906 to 1975. So we try to keep some of these composers, oh, there's so many to choose from, but within the month that we're in. So Dmitri was a Soviet composer and pianist. He was one of Dmitri. That just, I can hear somebody say Dmitri over and over in my head. That was from Dr. Strangelove. That's yes. Right. Anyway, he was one of the Russian culture's most acclaimed intellectuals who was censored under the dictatorship of Joseph Stalin and was an internationally recognized composer whose music was played for over 100 Russian films. Many of the early films were silent, and he was employed to play the music for the show in the theater. He learned to improvise, develop musical fragments, kind of like Daft Punk does now, although they just broke up, and how to assign certain melodies for each character in the film or in any film. He was born in St. Petersburg. His father was a chemical engineer and his mother was a pianist. He displayed musical talent after he began piano lessons at age 9. He studied piano at a private school. His greatest influences were Bach and Beethoven. He composed his first symphony at age 19, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Nine. Like I said, I don't know where that get that. Anyway, 9. Niner. And after graduation, he initially embarked on a dual career as a concert pianist, because that probably was steady income, and a composer. And Shostakovich concentrated on composition and limited his performances primarily to his own works. Let me show a few. Oh, we have no picture of him. Well, tough. I forgot to make a picture of him. Shostakovich Symphony Number 5. Boy, I played this a lot. And there is a picture of him with Leonard Bernstein at the Bolshoi in Moscow, the conservatory. And I can't find a year for this, but there they are. And international triumph. Okay. But I remember I played this so often. I think I need to play it again. Here's a prize-winning Deutscher Schallplattenpress. It's a prize. Yes. Shostakovich Symphony Number 10 on Deutsche Grammophon with the tulips. So, you know, depending on the number of tulips, it's depending on the value of the record. And this one is Eugene Ormandy. Shostakovich Number 13 called Bobby Yar. uh, with Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra, and I thought it was said Tom Cruise baritone, but Tom Krause baritone, and so that's for orchestra, chorus, and the like. Uh, okay, we got another one. This is Seraphim, which is, kind of a less expensive but very good. Complete String Quartets, Volume 2. So I think I got the other volumes hanging around somewhere. That's a real special record there, so we'll talk about that in a minute here. But this is Complete String Quartets, Volume 2, number 6 through 11. String quartets, I kind of came onto those a little bit later in life and really like it. So at age 26, he wrote Lady Macbeth of Mtsensk District, Mtsensk, and it was an unconventional piece at the time. Stalin was offended, and the newspapers condemned the piece, and Dmitri was reviled, and the opera disappeared from the stage. He lived in fear of immediate arrest and slept outside his apartment to spare his family of the sight of his apprehension. Despite this, he went on to receive a number of international awards, and after the death of Stalin, he was able to compose without official interference and went on to international tours and visited the United States. Dmitri was nominated for 1 Academy Award and nominated for 1 Grammy Award. One silent film that Dmitri played for that was particularly interesting was science fiction film Alita, Queen of Mars. Now, wasn't that a film? No, not. I won't mention it because I was wrong. I love this. It's a great movie. A lot of fun. I think this is the first film ever that showed a rocket taking off with a countdown. Is that correct?
I think so.
I think that is true, and it's a lot of fun. And this one has music in the background. So, Aelita. I always pronounce it Alita, but I don't think that's the right way. Queen of Mars, 1923-24. Directed by Yakov Protozanov, Protozanov. So there. You didn't think I could speak Russian. Well, now you know I can. Okay. So it was based on Tolstoy's novel. So if you think Tolstoy didn't write science fiction, like I didn't think, you were wrong. It primarily tells of an engineer that travels to Mars in a rocket ship, somewhat like NASA Nelly, and a strange civilization there. A society where aristocrats rule over slaves who are confined underground and put into cold storage when not required. Oh, wouldn't you like to do that with some people? Put them in cold storage. Anyway, what happened? Oh, no, let's finish up with... I want to see what's on the inside of this. This was a reissue, cost extra. And, there's Andre Previn. So, this is Symphony number 13. This was a rather more strange, has chorus, limited edition. But doesn't say how many, but this is 543. Alto, which I think does some great pressings. And there's a picture of Andre Previn and his little group there. Andre Previn, of course, starting out in jazz and then migrating over to classical, and that's good stuff. So what happened on this day in history? 60 Minutes premiered on CBS on September 24th, 1968, 4 years after the premiere of Doctor Who, the longest-running primetime show in American television history. The first episode was hosted by Harry Reasoner and Mike Wallace. Also, Jailhouse Rock was released. Where's Jailhouse Rock?
Movie by the same name.
Elvis. So, the single was released on this day. This is a film, of course, the same name, and the explosive film that turned Elvis loose. So Elvis is loose, and there you go. A lot of these Elvis films are a lot of fun. Elvis music could be a little more serious in that it is great artistry, in my opinion, in the opinion of many others. The films are just plain good fun. So that was the record was released September 24th, 1957. And the song was written by Lieber and Stoller, who also wrote Hound Dog, Love Potion Number 9, and On Broadway. So KFC Chicken opened its first franchise in Salt Lake City September 24th, 1952, and it's still operational to this day. So I don't know. Do you like KFC, Sean? I'm not a big fan.
Not really. Not really.
Yeah. Of all of the, of all of the fast food fried chicken stuff, I do like Popeyes better. I'm not sure what Popeye has to do with fried chicken. I don't think they have. They use what's that green stuff? Popeye.
Green stuff.
Yeah.
Okra?
No, that Popeye always
Spinach.
eats.
Oh, spinach.
Spinach. Thank you, Sean. Spinach. Yeah. So I don't think there's any spinach in that chicken, but so be it. So inside the restaurant, that one that was in Salt Lake City, you'll find artifacts of Colonel Sanders' white suit, a glass chicken bucket, wow, like champagne, I guess, and a briefcase belonging to the colonel encased in glass. And with that, we are done with Colonel Sanders and our history. I'm not going to talk much about reverse mortgages. I think we got a really great session with Tom Hegna, but we do have our joke section, and I'm hoping people call in. I've got some, but they're shy. These people are shy, like me. You know what I mean, Sean? They're shy. So for the joke section, we're calling on NASA Nellie, but she's not coming down. She's going to talk to us via, whatever, and lay it on us with a couple of jokes.
What did one wall say to the other wall?
I don't know. What did one wall say to the other wall?
I'll meet you in the corner.
Okay, let's try to do another one. Maybe we can up the ante here a little bit.
What do you call a bear with no teeth?
I don't know. What do you call a bear with no teeth?
A gummy bear.
A gummy bear. Oh, I love gummy bears. So that's a good one, though. That is a good one. Hold on, I don't think so. Okay, lay it on us.
What do you get when you cross a snowman with a vampire?
What do you get when you cross a snowman with a vampire?
Frostbite.
I almost said a naughty word. All poop. Frostbite. Okay. Well, that's kind of like the pickle joke I used to tell. Mm-hmm. I got a bunch of jokes written down, but I'm gonna let guests do them first, if possible. And somebody that sends me a bunch of jokes is the guy who's Howard Saltz, whose wife is a science fiction writer. He sends me a lot of jokes. Anyway, lay another one on us before we go.
Why are seagulls called seagulls?
Oh boy, why are seagulls called seagulls?
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels.
Oh, that's good. I want you to repeat the whole thing, please.
Why are seagulls called seagulls?
Why are seagulls called seagulls?
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels.
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. Now that one I like. And with that one, we're going to say goodbye. So remember, Jay will be on the same corner in front of the cigar store without his gallbladder. next week. And please stay safe, everyone. I need you. Your families and friends need you. Stay safe. Stay productive. Have a great weekend. And we will be together next week at this time. Thanks so much, Sean, and thanks to all the listeners. Bye-bye.